Good evening, Namita, and thank you for your
Evening.
time this evening to spend time with us and to share some of your ideas. Um, we really appreciate you taking time off your busy schedule. Over the next 30 minutes or so, we'll discuss some of the key issues and areas which are impacting or are likely to impact in the coming years the customer experience. And we also want to understand about your journey and your thoughts and ideas regarding customer experience, right? Okay, so my first question to
Before
you.
we begin, even I would like to thank you, Mridul,
Okay,
for this opportunity. It's a pleasure to be here, and I think you're doing a great job with respect to bringing people together, making such a beautiful platform where people can talk about so many things, and we can have a mutual learning here. So thank you so much, Mridul, for inviting me.
thank you. It's my pleasure always, Namita, talking to you. Okay, so my the first thing which comes to my mind when I talk to you always is that you are in a very different industry to the most of the people I talk to. You come from a B2B industry, which is a very hardcore, very different kind of environment. Uh, what unique challenges B2B companies face in delivering exceptional customer experience as compared to, say, for example, a B2C industry?
B2B companies are, they face a lot of challenges, especially when it comes to, if you have to compare them with B2C companies. There is a lot of complex decision making when it comes to, buying a product. There are many stakeholders involved. There are many challenges. They need certifications, they need approvals, as in, with respect to, there are certain uh, things to be met, a kind of what do you call them as uh, compliances to be met, things like that. So there are a lot of complexes when they are making such decisions. Are we bringing in, if we are bringing in a product? So at the product level, there are decisions that are made, whether this product is mapping the kind of need that my customer is looking at, whether the product that is coming in is meeting the right standards. So there is a diverse range of things that need the decisions from the customer's organization to be made. So it is very important that we, kind of fulfill them at one end. Another part is we have very long cycles of sales. So first the touch point is mapped out and then the product is made. So it's a little longer cycle, not like a B2C company where you just go out and you tell them ये 1 किलो या 2 किलो दे दो काम हो जाएगा, sort of a thing. It is not like that. It is a
Right.
little different. The customers have higher expectations. Some of our customers even are trying to map out from where are we taking our this, so they build in a sustainable life cycle.
Right.
Are we procuring the materials from the right people? Are we looking into the sustainability aspects of it? And then there are these customized solutions that need to be given to the customers. So it cannot be like in B2C, personalization happens with respect to a person. Here, the personalization happens with respect to a business. As in, for example, is the product which is running, which is working, which we're producing at our companies, is it working well at their machines? Are the machines, do the people know the product know-how or not? How do we, mitigate the risks of any kind of complaints that might come up, especially from the same product which is made in one of the customer's machine may not be working well at the other customer's machine. So things like that always happen.
Right.
I also see that there's a lot of integration issues that normally happen with people. As in not the people per se, but the systems per se. So uh, removing out of legacy, then bringing in new stuff with respect to technical expertise, all that. And we always look for ROI. Of course, there is a lot of stress on ROI. So even if we are bringing in a customer experience framework, there will always be an measurable impact associated with it. How are we doing it? Is it correlating with the sales? Is it giving me some kind of a value to me or my customer? So overall, we all need a lot of understanding of the customer, stronger relationships. All this takes a lot of time, a lot of technical expertise, and definitely, giving them customized solutions. So there's a lot of work that goes into it.
Oh no, I completely agree. It's really complex. The B2B sales cycle is complex. The kind of personas you're addressing to, the kind of people and the kind of problems which comes are very complex. And I think you raise a very important point of integration of systems. The systems should talk to each other and facilitate, the processes to deliver a superior CX. That I think brings me to the next question. How do you determine to when is the time to rely more on technology versus to prioritize human interaction? Because it's both who play an important role in delivering CX. So when do you think which should take a precedence over the other?
Okay. So prioritizing technology and prioritizing human interactions is what you mean. So
Yes.
when do we do that? When do we prioritize technology? We prioritize technology when there's a repetitive task at hand. So this is where, the technology excels. That is where we need not waste our human time and energy in doing something. If there is for example, you have systems wherein you can easily, where the customer is given a interface, for example, something like a CRM. He's
Right.
given an interface where he can download the invoice. He can easily check his own balance, how much is left with us, and things like that. If there is a advance payment to be done, any providing quick service like maybe understanding few things like down we had this particular product. If you go to the system, you can just chat in what is the key aspects of this particular product and things like that. So this need not happen via human. If there is a material available, you can just type in there, and then the dimensions of the material just comes out, the properties of the material just comes out. So something like that, where even when you see Zomato or Swiggy, for initial things they'll just ask for what is, for the initial stuff, what is the issue, whether it is the restaurant related, or the product that you've consumed, is it related to
Ye-
that, or the delivery boy's issue. So you're just, selecting that on a mobile. But when the problem increases and there is a complexity involved, that is when the human interaction comes in. And I feel that we need to prioritize technology when there is no need of a human interaction, where the things can happen monotonously, they can have in a routine, they can have a repetitive thing happening. When there is just a need for analyzing the whole situation. So, for example, you can track the material movement, whether it has been dispatched from from the factory, and how long is it going to take to reach my go down. I mean, me as a customers go down. So you can easily track it via the
Right.
this tracking systems. But if you need not call people for that, but if there is a seriously a complex issue, for example, I'm talking about a service like Zomato again, if I take the example, where there is a thing that you've been waiting for the delivery boy to come and there's no call. So you just message on that thing, and then the agent takes it up. So you start talking to him. So there's a complexity which is involved here. So that is where a human interaction is needed. Human interaction is also needed when you have a very emotionally charged situation. The customer is not
Right.
happy with you. He's constantly asking, "Mera material kab pahunch raha hai? I'm not able to see it in the system." That is where you need to intervene. That is, or the things like, your material was running fine till this time, then something happened at this particular speed. There is a lot of issues which we are facing with the material that you've sent us. So if there is a loss that he's seeing, if there is a production loss, if there is a loss that he's seeing at his end, so definitely that's a complexity which has come up. There's a lot of emotions which has come up. If there's no material in the market, so there's a scarcity, and then he's demanded us. So that is the time when the human interaction is very, very important. We started something called as a technical services cell, wherein we send out our people go to the customer's end and they look at the customers, they educate the customer for the products. So, there's a knowledge base, or rather a knowledge transfer which is happening. And this is happening at a very proactively. So
Right.
this is where a human interaction is important. You cannot always, even though, see, you can look into the knowledge management that I told you earlier, but you can look into it for some time. But to deeply understand the product, you definitely need someone who can demonstrate it and show you. You cannot do it via a knowledge base also.
Right.
So there's a lot of, where to use what and how much to use it is very important. So
I
this
think
is where I feel that human interaction is important. One more thing which I really feel is that where there is an empathetic situation where there is a need for empathy which is involved, it takes a lot of time, because you need to build in a long-term relationship. You need to build in a trust. So that is where the human interaction definitely comes into picture. You cannot, but yeah, one important thing which, having said all this, I still feel, as I told you earlier also, where to use what. So there needs to be a balance between the two, which is very important for us.
right.
Mapping out the customer journey, mapping out the touch points of it. Every interaction needs to be seamless. So if someone is having a problem even with the technology, that is where he'll definitely counter the human person for this. So, gathering feedbacks, all this in a B2B setup, it is very important for a human being to be there rather than a messaging or a technology.
Right. Right.
It
Right.
takes a lot of, it takes, balance is what I feel.
Yeah, I think that balance definitely is required. And as you rightly said, as long as it is predictable and it is routine, technology can handle it. But when it leads to a situation which the technology has not been prepared for, a crisis or a situation which is really charged up environment with customer, then I think the human interaction plays a very important role. And then you also mentioned about empathy, which is my next point. And I think uh, what are your thoughts? And because if you look at B2B uh, industry, right, and B2B scenario, customer relationships, trust, and a long-term customer journey is really, really
Yeah.
key for your success. Now, what are your thoughts around the role of empathy and personalization in this B2B journey?
So just now, as you said about the long-term relationships, and empathy comes in, and it plays a lot of it's very crucial for the business to have a long-term relationship, a strong B2B network, because the customer has to come back to you. There are many other challenges that a B2B as a business he faces. It could be imports, it could be another competition, it could be a substitution, it could be a wrong quality people products that comes into places. But for to build a long term relationship, understanding the customer's world, understanding what is required for that particular customer, it could not, so total, a holistic approach to a customer's world is where you need to have an empathy involved. um, a lot of times you need to train your agents. We need to train our agents to be, empathetic towards the different touch points from where we are gathering our feedback. So there are definitely customers frustration happens when he's giving a feedback. He's frustrated. He's giving a negative feedback. He's demonstrating that aspect of it, that I'm very upset with you, and then he's, but as a to navigate that kind of a difficult situation, you definitely need an empathy. You definitely need to build that trust. You definitely need to build a
Yes,
rapport, because
yes,
he's ensuring not just the money part of the he's not trusting you with not just the money part, but also the factory. He's an entrepreneur. He has people to feed to. At the end of the day, he's supposed to run his own business. He's also
right.
responsible for his own customers, because we are at the upstream, we are not at the downstream. Okay, so
I
there's a chain. We are also responsible for the customer, but not for also his customer's customer, for his people. So when we are sending out a proper, we're giving them the kind of material that they need, the demand that we are fulfilling, even in times of shortage of material. So that trust and that long-term partnership requires to have a empathetic mindset, and even for taking the feedbacks and human interactions. And you said about personalization is what you meant, said a few minutes ago. Was that also there?
Yeah. I spoke
So,
about personalization.
so
Because what is happening today in today's world, uh, personalization in B2C seems to be quite easy, right? Because you
yeah.
know a particular product which you are creating for a particular category of people, like for example, Gen Z or senior citizens, or you know that kind of customization is easy because your segmentation is easy. But in a B2B environment, the segmentation itself can be complex, especially in
Yes.
the industry where you come from. So, how do you personalize the conversations, the interactions that your team has with your customers, and how in a certain sector or in a certain segment it is different from the others?
So personalization in B2B, there are two ways that happens. It's not as easy and as smooth as a B2C context,
Correct.
wherein the if you're buying something, you'll just say, "Hi, Mridul, this is what you like. These are your likes and dislikes." So this is how personalization happens in a B2C
Right.
context. But for a B2B, it is so important to have to note for the business what is required. What is, are we giving them kind of a tailored solutions? Are we giving them something that is actually useful for them than for, that would help their productivity, that would help their own way of working. I mean, that would help their own bottom line, for the customer's bottom line. If is it helping them? Are we and when it comes to obviously the communications part of it, we know if you work, if you've, I'm sure in a normal business scenario, you try to uh, be with the customer like the customer. For
Right.
example, you are, for example, let's take a chance that you are my customer and just come to meet me. I know that there are certain values that you stand by, there are certain communications that you look for when we are talking to you, in a way that communicating in a way that much suits you. So I would try to embody that. I would try to be or my frontline would like to, we would train them to be someone like, who understands him. We know that for certain the business leaders will not be worried about what is happening in some part of the world, but some of the businesses will need that kind of a knowledge also sometimes when we are talking to them. For example, if their material is going into the Europe, or and there is an issue at the Red Sea and things like that. So if he knows something from our end, it will help his own business. So we should know how to talk to, I mean, the in not the, but the focus of interaction should be in a way that it's for him, what is right for him, right, is what is right for his business.
Right.
So
Right.
this is what we try to put it up into B2B sector.
Right. Right.
Personalization is, this is what I feel. And
No, that's absolutely right because a customer always wants more knowledge because in a B2B environment, the relationship is not transactional. It is not just you're selling something and you're out. It's a long-term relationship. It's more of a partnership, if I can say, and therefore what you just said makes great sense. One thing which I always feel, and I think at CXLET we are now trying to focus a little bit more on, is happy employees makes happy customers. Now, what role do you think in your world employee experience plays, and how does it contribute to a rich customer experience?
this is something which I really believe in a major way, that employee experience contributes a lot to the customer experience. If your frontline is supported, if you're not just the frontline, but the entire system of people, whoever are working with you, whether they are in the frontline, whether they are behind the scenes, each one of them is a part of your business. If they are happy, if they're engaged, if they're well supported, that is when they feel good about working at that particular place, and that is how it reflects in the work wherever they're working.
Right,
It reflects in the way they treat even the customer. It comes, obviously it comes out. So if I'm not happy at one particular point, I will not be able to give you this kind of an interview. I'll think, oh, I have to do this, that kind of a mentality
right,
starts putting it up. So for a person who is actually very happy, he's engaged at work, he'll definitely want to do better. So how do we help our people or our team be better is, I feel, something which we did at our place. We empowered our own employees. If there was a need for helping them make decision faster, resolve issues independently. So
Right.
that kind of authority was given. We help them train our employees in a very holistic way, which our people came up with really good training solutions. So not just about the product, not just about the business, but economy as a whole. What happens when? What are how do things impact the business? How does a small thing like the monsoons or anything of that sort is
Yeah.
it going to impact the business or not? Is it going to be um, or a issue in the Europe or the inflation in the Europe going up or down, how will that impact the business? So if the training of the employees is given in the right way, if our employees are well trained, so definitely they will be able to even, be very confident in the market. And that is where even the customer feels that he also gets the same confidence from them. So however you're keeping the employees the same way, even the customers are going to take it from you. If the employee is engaged, he's happy with the kind of environment that you have. If it is an empathetic environment, if it is, so he'll also emit that kind of positivity outside also. So investing in employees is very important. And I think just before we started this conversation, we also were speaking about the similar thing about one of the pillars being the people per se when we talk about as a customer experience. So I think it is a very strategic move for a business to be
Right.
making it, investing in their employees.
No, definitely. And we strongly feel that in this whole, chatter around technology, AI, and all that, the human element of delivering CX should not be lost. And I think 2025, probably it will come out. We are very committed to pick that up and talk about skills, talk about training, talk about standards of performance, which are going to deliver and a superior CX and will become the greater differentiator, because at the end of the day, everybody probably will have the same technology 5 years down the line, right? So what
Yeah.
will the differentiator be? So I think that is the thought process here, and I'm very happy that as a very seasoned CX leader, you also agree and appreciate that fact. Um,
Yes.
that brings me to the end of the conversation. But before we end that, I mean, you are a well-respected CX leader in the
Thank you.
community. If you had to summarize your approach to CX in one sentence or maybe two, what would that be? What would be your mantra for success for CX leaders?
My mantra for enriched customer focus would actually, or a customer experience would actually focus on deep customer understanding. You need to understand the customer. What is he feeling? What is he thinking? What are his feedbacks that he's giving? Learn from it and understand. So listening, learning, and acting is what something I would uh, put it into a shell and then bring out the personalized experiences to that particular customer. And obviously, the Kaizen that we call all the time, the continuous improvement of to develop an enduring loyalty is what is important.
Right, right, right. Okay, thank you once again, Namita. That brings us to the close of this conversation, and I'm really looking forward to more conversations next year with you. But thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much
much
for
for
your time.
inviting me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.